And we're back.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
It is July 24th, 2022, and our title today is When You Think You Don't Have a Prayer. And I'm going to begin with a reading from Ernest Holmes in 365, the book 365, and it's entitled, I Am Secure in the Everlasting Arms of God. And the Bible quote is from Deuteronomy 33:27. The eternal God is my refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. And Ernest says, the everlasting arms suggest divine protection, complete certainty, and the assurance that all is well with the soul. And how could it be otherwise, since the spirit of humankind is God? We are realizing that our spirit, being one with God and never separated from its source, must be and is as secure as God. It is this inward sense of our union with the whole that binds us back to the eternal presence and gives us the joy of knowing that there is nothing to be afraid of, either out of the past, from the present, or in the future. So the affirmative prayer is this, and you may repeat it with me or along with me. I am secure in the everlasting arms of God. I feel the divine presence in, around, and through me and all people. A great sense of calm and peace flows through me, my whole being, in confidence and in light. Realizing that there is no separation between the spirit within me and the spirit that God is, and knowing that there is but one spirit, which is God in me and God in everything, I feel confidence and safety and security in that presence that evermore wraps itself around me and flows through me. I am indeed secure today in the everlasting arms of good, of peace, of joy, and of life. I am secure in the consciousness that today and every day I shall be guided, guarded, and protected. And I'm secure in the consciousness that all people are protected by the same divine presence, governed by the same law of good, and guided by the same infinite love. I am one with all, both visible and invisible, one with the seen and with the unseen, one with God and one with humankind. I bless this unity.
Beautiful.
And so it is.
The title came to me as I was meditating the other night. Every night when I go to bed, I do what I call my gratitude list, my appreciation. And I started out with, I want to tell infinite mind, divine intelligence, mother, father, God, whatever you call yourself, whatever I should be calling you, I want to say how thankful I am. And as I was going through that ritual of deciding what the name would be or what to call this, I realized how little I knew about that which has created me and its greatness. And so I struggle with feeling really like a child, like a baby, and thinking of God the way I think a baby thinks of mom, and saying, Mom, you're God, and I love you, and I appreciate you. At the same time, the baby has so little experience and so little knowledge and so little understanding of what mom is that he actually doesn't have a clue. And so I was thinking, wow.
It doesn't have a clue, or it doesn't have a clue of all she has already done to create him or her,
right,
and all that she will do in the future to care, provide, keep safe,
right.
help grow, teach, nurture, that will happen. He hasn't
All
got a
of
clue.
all of that is invisible to the child. So I was thinking, all the good that is available that God would bring to me is invisible to me, including God as an individual or a person or an intelligence or whatever. So I was thinking, it's hard to think that you have a prayer when what your prayer would be too is something that is so great and so grand and so huge, you can't actually even conceive of it. I mean, so I'm saying thank you for that which I can't conceive of, and I'm grateful for you. But I also think it's important to have that conversation at some level with yourself and say, this thing called God, this thing called divine intelligence, which is my favorite, is so much greater than I am that I can't even begin to grasp it. So then why would I impose limits on it? why would I suggest that there's things it can't do or things that won't work? So why would I suggest that prayer to the infinite intelligence isn't going to bring me everything that's required, necessary, and desired, when in fact I have no clue how enormous this is and how much there is to it, how much substance there is to this. And so anyway, that's what got me started on the idea of it. And I thought, I see why we have a struggle with prayer, because we're praying often to something that we really don't understand.
Right. And
in a larger sense.
Right. And don't have any idea how much we are loved and already cared for and provided for.
Yeah.
And, just as our babies, our children often have to learn through their mistakes, we often learn through our mistakes, and we come to whatever we find that works for us. And for us, it's this form of affirmative prayer that we believe is, as Jesus said in the New Testament, it is done unto you according to your belief.
Right.
We believe that's part of the law, that how this operates, but we often come to it through our mistakes rather than through the affirmative use of changing our beliefs and expecting good. Last week, we went through our version of simplifying what we call spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer with the forms Bob came up with, which was see it, say it, sense it. So feel it with your whole being, what you want to experience. And I came up with savor it, because you want to experience as if it's already happened. And today we said we need one more for, how long do you pray? How long do you do a prayer once and you look around and say, well, I don't see my demonstration. I don't see anything happening. Do you stop there? Well, we know that prayer is a powerful energy and it's gone out to the universe and it is creating, but it doesn't mean it happens like that. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. I've had instantaneous healings myself personally. And so sometimes it is instant, but sometimes it takes time, because it takes time to change all the energies that you've already put out and the vibrations for what you thought you didn't have. So you continue to do this daily, at least once a day, until it happens. So the final step we came up with, and it came from this prayer, is secure it. See it, say it, sense it, savor it, secure it. So you keep putting out that prayer until you are secure that you have it.
Well, and to go back to that whole idea of when people pray a second time, they often wonder, am I undoing, or is it a lack of confidence, or am I doing this because I really want to believe it? Well, another way of looking at that, at least I looked at it, was if I planted a seed in the ground, I would see that seed. I would say that I'm planting the seed. I would sense it, see it, say it, feel it, enjoy it, savor it, but I'd also have to water it.
Yes.
And if I water the seed, if I water the seed on a daily basis, it isn't less a seed. It is a seed now that I am nourishing. And in a way, what we have to do is nourish our prayers. And we nourish our prayer by affirming it, by allowing ourselves to move into it in greater depth, to nurture it, to take care of it, because it's an energy. And it does create, and it creates immediately. When we decide to go on a road trip, when we get in the car, we already have a destination in mind. And so everything that we're doing is affirming that destination. But you can drive all day and affirm your destination.
And you're not there yet.
And tomorrow you have to drive 3 times further.
That's the kids say, are we there yet?
Yeah, right. So what you wouldn't do is you wouldn't drive, well, we're not there yet. This thing doesn't work. Let's just go home. You could say that, and given the traffic, sometimes it would be a good idea. But the bottom line is you have to continually fuel the vehicle to get to where you want to go. You have to continually water the seed or the idea. You need to nurture it and share it and in your consciousness. But I think it's a piece that we get in trouble with. So sometimes when people say, "Oh, I did a prayer and I don't want to have to say it again, because if I say it again, does that mean I didn't really believe it?"
Or it didn't work.
It didn't work, yeah. And when I get in the car and decide I'm going to drive, it's working. And the fact that I'm not to my destination yet is because I have a lot to accomplish, a lot to do, and a lot of miles to travel before I get there.
And sometimes when you say it, you don't quite believe it. And so the more often you say it and feel into it, and as I said, savor that experience of feeling what it's like for that to have come to fruition. for you, or for someone else that you're praying for, is each time you do it, you imprint it more deeply into the universe of vibration. And so when you think you don't have a prayer, you need to do your prayer again and again, and you continue doing until you see it.
Right. Sing it, say it, speak it.
Did you say sing it?
Yeah, sing it. If there's a way you can put it into words and put it into music, find as many ways as you can to state it in consciousness so that when you hear it, it means something. Now, one of the things that I did a long time ago, which actually worked for me, was I wanted a number of things to happen in my life. And so I affirmed all of those things. I do self-hypnosis, and I said all of those things, and I said it to music. I had music in the background. Now, what happened eventually is that whenever I played the music, I had the prayer, even if I didn't say it, because it's what we call a paired experience. If you have two things connected and you play one of them, the other one plays in your brain. We know, for instance, if you play a musical instrument, and we know that because we've done MRIs, if you looked at an MRI of a person who's listening to a piece of music and their instrument is being played, their brain is playing it even though they're not actually doing anything. So whenever you put those two things together, that's played in your brain. And you know this, you've had a love song at some point, I'm sure most of us have in our lives, that whenever we hear that song, it brings back all of the emotion of the experience. It's not the song, it's the paired experience.
Indeed.
So say it, see it, sense it, sing it, savor it, and then secure it by doing all of those things as often as you need to, and then allow it to be expanded in you. And the conversation will be expanded. The conversation that I had, that I don't even begin to grasp the size and depth and richness of God, helped me understand how small I am in my understanding and how great it is, how great what I'm talking to is. It's a beginning.
Yes, indeed. And as a matter of fact, I've been awed this week with the pictures that have been sent back by our latest and greatest telescope, James Webb, I think is the name of that telescope, where we see just in every little tiny area that we can see way, way out beyond our galaxy is another galaxy. They're like galaxies all over the place. And it brings to mind that song, How Great Thou Art. It's like, oh my God, how great is the creator of this universe, the universe says, and that also created me and created us. Some people say out of that stardust, that we are made of the same light as made in the stars. That's hard to imagine, but I've just recently learned that our DNA is photodynamic. It's made of light. And it's the same light that the stars are made of. It's just, whoa. You talk about an infant not knowing how great its mother is and the creation and what it has done and will do for it. I can hardly conceive of the bigness of this thing we call God.
When I found out that we're all made of stardust, I immediately agreed to myself never to dust again. And so, because I don't want to be vacuuming up stardust, so granted that things look a little funny here, but that's okay.
Well, I was thinking about like the mother with the baby. There are certain laws that the baby has to learn, and the mother could tell it about the law of gravity and the law of inertia, but she just usually has to let the baby learn that there's a law, such a thing as the law of gravity. And when you stand up and lose your balance, you're going to fall down, not up. And that law is in place, and you just have to learn it.
I've never fallen up.
Right. And there are certain laws of the universe that we can't breathe in water. Guess what? So you have to learn those things. We also have to learn the laws that cause our experience. What causes us to attract certain circumstances, people, places, and things into our life?
Mm-hmm.
And we believe that is done by our belief. It is done unto you according to your belief. So we see it over and over, that people who expect good things to happen, more good things happen. People who expect bad things to happen to themselves, inevitably just bounce around from one disaster to the other. And so that's something we have to learn. Oh, this is the way our universe works. And God leaves us alone to discover these ourselves. Maybe we can find it through sacred text and learn to apply it, or through people who've gone before us. but generally we have to learn from our mistakes. Excuse me. So the thing that we need to know is that we're always evolving. We're always learning that God in me, as me, is me.
Which means we're always connected.
Exactly. So
That's huge.
So I too can create in the same way that God does by knowing it. The Bible, it says, let there be, when they tell the creation story, that God said, let there be light, let there be sun, let there be
Chocolate.
Let there be chocolate.
Well, maybe not. Yeah. I thought that was one of the things that God said, let there be chocolate, let there be
Did create the cocoa bean.
bagels,
Cocoa bean,
bagels, cream cheese.
sugar
Yeah.
cane.
Yeah.
So
Not tofu.
God did not create
No,
tofu,
no, no, no. That's an aberration.
God created soybeans. Those are pretty
I
good.
think so.
But at any rate,
We do digress.
we do digress. So, when you think you don't have a prayer, you not only have the mechanics of a prayer, but you learn how to watch your thinking, catch yourself with your thinking, hopefully have friends or partners to remind you when you're off base with your thinking, when you do the negative thinking or sinking thinking and expect bad things to happen. Hopefully you have friends and loved ones to bring you to the awareness that that's not the kind of thinking you want to be doing, because how could our thoughts not be an energy that goes out? Now, of course, we have experiments in labs with sophisticated paraphernalia where we know our thoughts are things, but we believe those thoughts are energy patterns that go out and then attract like circumstances, people, places, and
Well,
things.
because we believe these things, and we believe them for a long time, and I've been involved in hands-on healing for a lot of years. And I don't talk much about it because it's not a conversation typically that goes with our teaching, but it's something that I've done for a long time. And one of the experiences I had was with a Native American man who was involved in a very bad motorcycle accident. And he was in intensive care and he was in a coma. And he was all swollen up because the lymph system had failed to work properly. So he was probably twice the size he should have been in a coma on a stretcher.
Not expected to
Not
survive.
expected to survive. And I went in to request of the family, and I did two things. I did some hands-on healing, but I also did what I call healing the IV bottles. And I asked the nurse, I said, how many IV bottles are you going to be giving them? She said, why do you want to know? And I said, because I believe we can energize, we can get positive energy. Well, if you believe that, go ahead. So anyway, I did healing for all of the bottles of the IV bottles in addition to him. And I went back the next day, and I'd expected, because even though I did what I did, I still expected him not to survive. Not only had he survived, he was no longer in a coma. He was no longer swollen up twice his size. The nurses couldn't believe that he'd survived the night and that he was no longer showing the kinds of symptoms that he was showing that indicated he wasn't going to live. And then when I met him, he said, oh, you came last night, didn't you? And I said, yes, but you were in a coma. He said, but I saw you. Mm-hmm. And so, see, this defies a lot of the things that we typically believe. And because of that, we live in limitation. What if our prayers are present in other people's lives, even though they don't know it when we pray for other people? What if, and I do believe that it is, that prayers are living. Prayers are living things that have a substance and have an impact and I know that, but we forget it. So it sounds crazy to go into an emergency room or to an intensive care room rather and be holding bottles and doing prayer work over them, except that it works.
And also just your intention helped that work.
Yeah.
I also had an experience of working with a patient in the hospital. It was when we were therapists, psychotherapists, and working with an eating disorder unit. We had a gentleman, we didn't have too many male anorexics, but we had a male anorexic who had become anorexic because he had a bad fall from a ladder and it really hurt his feet and his legs, and it hurt him to stand. So he just quit making food for himself. He was a bachelor. And, he kept getting thinner and thinner, and he really didn't have much motivation to live. So he finished his stint in our hospital, and then he went home, and I got a call that he was in the hospital because a lung had collapsed. And they really didn't expect him to live. But they were going to do some operation. And so I went in and asked him if he'd like for me to do a healing prayer. And he said, yes. And so I was standing there. We were just standing there, not talking. And he was lying on a bed. And I was standing beside him. And I may have had my hands over his body like you do in Reiki, just have him think something is happening, And the physician walked in and looked at us very suspiciously, like, what's going on here? And I said, I was just doing some prayer work for him. He said, oh, whatever. And so then I left. And, as I said, they did not expect him to live. And lo and behold, he did live. He survived that. And he told me as soon as I put my hands over him, he felt the energy going into his lungs. I later saw him in my private practice. This is just by the way, when you kind of change your attitude that, well, good things can happen to me. He later was seeing me for depression, but he won the lottery. He won the lottery and he was no longer depressed.
Yeah. And we got none of the money.
I know, but I think that just shows what can happen when you start expecting good things to happen to you.
Yeah.
That good things can happen for me, so.
The universe had his number.
Yes. And we've seen many, many real cases like that. So we know you do have a prayer. You always have a prayer. Sometimes we need reminding when we don't feel great or when it seems like unfortunate things have happened to us,
right.
But we always have a prayer.
So see what you want in your mind's eye. Say what you want with your voice. And if you can't say it, sing it. If you can sing it and
it
say
helps
it.
to actually hear the vibration and hear
right.
it. Yeah.
If there's a melody that you like, sing it to the melody, an affirmative prayer to song. See it, say it, sing it, sense it, feel it in your heart. Allow yourself to feel that and then savor it. Savor the feeling of that and how good that is. And then secure it by being willing to go back and nurture it and take care of it.
And not say it again.
Not undo it and say it again. And imagine that every time that you pray for a thing, that you're adding cosmic fuel, you're adding cosmic water, cosmic love to the thing that you're saying that you want to see. We've done a lot of counseling over the years. I know we've done a lot of counseling over the years. And one of the things that we've discovered when people get together, that after they've been together for a while, they often forget that it's really nice to say, I love you. And they'll often forget to say, I was thinking about you or I appreciate you. And what men will often say is, well, I love you.
I told you that.
Yeah, I told you that. Yeah, remember that when I proposed to you?
Remember we got married?
1961. Love it. Well, the bottom line is that every time you say I love you, you're affirming something that is in existence already and making it stronger and allowing yourself to savor it. So savor your prayers. Savor them like they're special relationships and say, I love this prayer. I love doing this prayer, as opposed to begging, borrowing, worrying, fearful. I've got to have this happen. No, love it. Love what you're doing. Sing it, say it, sense it, feel it, claim it. It's yours.
So our time is up now. And so let's end with an affirmative prayer.
Right. And offering.
And offering. And so let's come together and recognize there's one life, one mind, one God. And by whatever name we call it, we know we are one with it.
One source.
We are the creation of it, and we are the creator in our lives. And so we know and speak our word right here and now that all is well with us, with each one listening and participating, and with our world. We choose to see the positive. We choose to see it evolving purposefully, consciously into a greater and greater loving world. And so as we see this and say it and savor it, we release it and let it be.
And we know that it is so.
It is so.
And so
it is.
For those of you that have won the lottery, it is possible for you to donate any portion of that you would like to. We don't want your used cars like they do on PBS, but if you are comfortable with donating to us to support our ministry, that would be wonderful. And we do that in part by going to the website and to ways to donate, which is in front of you right now. You can see it on your screen if you're not watching your phone, which is probably too small. And so donate according to your ability to give and support us, and we appreciate it. And it makes a big difference to a lot of other people than you. There are people that tune in who have nothing in the way of the resources that most of us have, who have benefited from this because of your support. So you're not just helping us, you're helping others as well. So let's.
So our website is where you have to
Oh,
go,
yeah.
and it's very small here, but it says CSL, which stands for the Center for Spiritual Living, palmbeaches.org, and then ways to donate is how you
Right.
donate. But I'd like you to say with me our affirmation for as we give, because we know as we give, we do receive. That's another
Indeed.
law we discover. And so say with me, if you would, my investment today is made with the full realization that God is the source of my supply and returns it to me enriched and multiplied.
And so
And
it is.
so it is.
Now we're going to end the recording here shortly. And we're going to, let's end it.